Perfect. Welcome. So today, Ken and I get to talk about conditionals, which I'm very excited about because I do love conditionals. I think there's kind of like this scary feeling about, oh my gosh, conditionals. What are they? What do they do? Oh my gosh, they're so confusing. They're really not. And so today I'm here to help you with your fear of conditionals. As Ken knows, I love grammar, and conditionals is one of my favorites, I have to say. It has been for a long time because it makes sense. You can see the similarities and differences, especially with this beautiful presentation that I have for you today that I wrote probably 3 years ago. I'm not going to lie. So, Ken, do you have anything to say about conditionals before we get started?
Yeah, the problem of conditional for me, Japanese has conditional sentence, but structure is very different. I noticed the other day, I was when I was teaching Japanese to my American friends to
Mm-hmm.
explain conditional, I searching for the website because
Mm-hmm.
the structure very different. So for English speakers, so same thing happened to me when
Yeah.
make conditional in English.
Well, like I said, I'm here to help. I mean, there are a lot of parts, but with anything in English, it's a puzzle. I always say English is like a puzzle. For example, you start subject, for a basic structure of a sentence, subject, verb, complement. Okay, well, that's fine. But then with the complement, things get more difficult. You have to add the adjective. Is there an adverb? And then the subject and the verb could be confusing depending on the verb tense, if it's a question or a negative sentence. So of course, I mean, the thing is if you understand everything, if you understand everything, if you understand grammar, today should be pretty easy. The only difficult thing I can foresee at the moment might be the modal verbs, because modal verbs, how do I explain modal verbs? They kind of give you this like percentage of possibility. So if I say I'm really going to do something, or well, I don't know. That's what each modal verb represents. And so we'll probably have time to go through those. Actually, I've reserved space for part 2 of today's class. So whatever we don't finish today, we'll do a different day. And honestly, at this exact moment, I don't know when that is. I can look. So, um, actually, let me try and open that now before I start sharing this, because if I share this and where's my open? If I share this and then open the other one, I don't know what could happen. Um, Things can get difficult. So this is June 2008 schedule is what it's under. And so, okay, that's opening. So this is today. Ken, this class is dedicated to you as well, because I know we talked about this a while ago, about months and months ago. So today is dedicated to you. Here it is. On June 20th, no, I'm lying to you. I don't know where my part 2 is. Oh, July. Well, I need to get working on my July classes. Wow, that's interesting. I think I might have made a mistake in something in one of these titles, maybe. But anyway, there's something here. If I don't have it reserved in June, I'll definitely put it into July. That's not difficult. I just thought I would have it next week or something. Anyway, apart from that, apart from my organizational skills, all I'm going to do is make this bigger. So when we do see it, oops. Here we go. All right, so where am I? And then click on this. All right, so conditionals. Here we go. Okay, so conditionals. Like I said, this is something I did a long time ago. This is going to bother me all day. Ignore, please. Okay. So first, what are conditionals? Okay, conditionals talk about possibility in certain types of situations. So, is it going to happen or might it happen? Or, can it happen? Is it a possibility or not? And how strong is that possibility? Do you have anything to add to this at the moment, Ken?
No, it's about possibility. Yes.
Okay. All right. So if you could please read the zero conditional.
Okay. Fact, something that is true. When, if plus present simple, present slash present simple.
Mm-hmm.
When water boils, it's hot.
Exactly. So what I've done here is the basic structure. Oh, first I've done, oops, what this represents. Okay. It's a true statement, basically. Okay. So in this case, we can use when and if. If is generally used for all the conditionals. And in this case, we can use when because it's true. It's like, well, when this happens, this happens. Okay. And so the
Mhm.
structure is, as you said, the present simple in both cases because it's a true statement. And so we use something that's true, maybe a habit. You could think of it like that. We use the present simple for habits. I eat breakfast every day.
Mhm.
Eat is in the present simple tense. Good?
Yeah.
Okay. So in this structure, we can see when. Oh no, I've forgotten to put the subject here. Oh, that's terrible. So then we have the subject of the sentence is water. Then
Mhm.
we have this verb, boils. What does boils mean, actually? It's kind of not a super common verb.
Boils to means to heat up, usually water, liquid.
Okay, until what temperature?
Uh, I think it's 100 centigrade.
100 degrees. If you say centigrade, that's fine. I say Celsius. Do
Celsius.
you know? Yeah, do you know in Fahrenheit?
I'm not good at this.
I'm not good at Celsius either. No, in Fahrenheit, I think it's 212 degrees.
Okay.
Don't ask me. Fahrenheit doesn't make sense. Okay, it's not my fault. Then this comma is represented in this phrase with the slash. Okay, so that's what the slash represents here. It's hot. Now we're using it because we're talking about the water. And so we're not going to say when water boils, the water is hot. Okay, that sounds a little bit too simple and too basic and very repetitive. Okay, so in here we're going to use the subject it, and this apostrophe s is our other present simple verb, which is Ken.
Uh, it's hard. I think it's adverb.
Not in this case.
No.
The apostrophe s represents the verb to
Apostrophe
be.
is
Is exactly. And I have it like this because it's more natural for native speakers to use the contractions in English.
right.
Okay. And so that's why I have it and not it is hot.
Okay.
Okay. That's the only reason it's connected here. And hot, what does hot mean?
Hot means heating up. More than warm.
You're using less common words than hot. Okay. So the opposite of cold, right?
Yes, that's right.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But yes, you did very well. It goes cold, warm, hot. So warm is about 50% of each
Mhm.
temperature.
Mhm.
Anyway, so yes, so this is what it is. So when we understand this sentence, when water boils, it's hot. It's like, obviously. That's what the zero conditional is for me. Okay. It's for example, when the sun shines, it's bright.
Mhm.
Okay. It's bright just means if there's a lot of light in general, and maybe you need sunglasses. So it's,
Mhm.
when it rains, it's wet outside. Yep. When it rains, the ground is going to be wet.
Mhm.
So, like I said, it's just these basic facts of information. Okay.
Okay.
Questions?
Uh, 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 I don't know the when sentence includes conditional.
Yes, and honestly, I've heard it used in other conditional sentences, like the first conditional, which we're going to see, and I was shocked. I said, "What? Absolutely not. I did research it for a little bit, not a lot, but sure, they do say when in other cases. Nor
I see.
and today literally is the basics. This is like conditionals 101 of it's the very basics of
Mhm.
it's in depth and detailed, but it's the basics in order to form all of these different conditionals. But there are more types, there's more advanced. And I think
Mhm.
that's what I actually have in part 2 of this class is the advanced ones, which I've actually never taught. I'm excited to learn and to teach that. But like I said, this is the basic. You can use this in every level from A2 probably is when you might be introduced to some conditionals, A2, B1 to C2. I mean, these are fine for every level. Okay. Perfect. Moving on. We
Okay.
well, let me just do this part first. Okay. So we have our first conditional. All right. So again, could you read this information here for us?
Okay. Something you say now that affects you in the future. If plus present simple, will plus infinitive. If I study, I will pass my exam. Mm.
Yep, sorry, I was drinking water. Okay, so yes. First conditional. If you say it now, it affects you in the future. Okay, that's fine. Because in this, as we see, we have the will modal verb. Will is used for future. The will is the future simple tense. But will also happens to be a modal verb. Now, these modal verbs is what I was talking about before, which they give us the percentage of possibility, basically. Okay. And so will to me is 100%. I will go to Wisconsin in September, for example. I will. I'm going.
Mhm.
Unless something drastically happens, I'm going. So to me, it's 100%. Okay. Again, we have our if, then our subject, and then the present simple. If it were, for example, if he studies, okay, that would change the conjugation of this verb. But again, I'm just using the subject I will pass my exam. So if I study, I will pass my exam. So it's something that if I do something now, such as study, in the future, maybe if it's tomorrow or in a week, whenever I have my exam, I will pass. I'll do fine. Okay. Questions?
No.
Okay.
It's
Because right now we see this little asterisk, right?
Mhm.
So what I'm going to do is move down a little bit and we're going to talk a little bit about this. Let me just move this over. Oh, okay, good. So it says here that you can use other modal verbs to change the percent of possibility of the action. However, in the first conditional, we cannot use would or could. Okay, that is I will explain that later.
Mhm.
Okay, so as
Okay.
I was talking about the percent of possibility, what happens if I say, if I study, I can pass my exam? Well, then I changed my possibility from I'm absolutely confident I'm going to pass my exam to, well, I can pass. There's a good possibility of I'll be able to pass, but you're not saying a lot with confidence. And so this is represented with 50%.
I
And we
see.
have a new friend today again. Con, is that what I'm supposed to call you? Hi.
Hi.
Oh, perfect. Is it okay if I call you Con? Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So today we're looking at conditionals. So if you have any questions, let me know, okay?
Okay.
Lots of grammar today. So yes, so if I change my modal verb from will to can, then I'm only giving it, like I said, a 50% chance that it's going to happen. I'm not sure, okay? So as I said before, the first sentence, Will's 100% very confident. All right. And we'll see more of these modal verbs as we go with other conditionals as well. Okay. Um, the only thing else I could say for right now is I should pass my exam is maybe I'm not really, really positive I'm going to pass, but I should if I dedicate my time and I study. And should is about a 75% percentage. So do you understand that this percent of possibility that I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very feeling based, so it's very yeah. But to know this kind of percentage, yeah, I can clarify. I thought
Exactly.
it's almost 100%, but it's not. It's just half.
Exactly. Can is, well, it's possible, but I don't know. For example, I can go to the party on Friday. Maybe, I mean, I actually have time. It's possible. But maybe when it comes down to it, on Friday, I don't want to go. So I can go, but I might not. There's always that other part. Okay. So good. I'm just going to change this back to the original just because I don't want to change anything. So moving on to the second. Now this is where life gets a little bit difficult sometimes. And what I'm going to do is just move this down for a moment. And that way we can take a look at the second conditional. Con, would you like to read what you see here with second and the examples? Okay. Ken, do you want to read?
Yes, but maybe he can't know.
Yeah, Con, do you want to read what we see on the screen with the second?
Oh,
Oh,
mute.
I
No,
said you
no.
just
Sorry.
muted yourself. We could hear you before. You have to unclick the mute button again. Oh, this technology. Yeah, now we should be able to hear you.
Okay.
Oh, now he's mute again. You're mute again, Con. We can't hear you. So, click on the button again. Technology is difficult for everybody. Don't worry. Oh, it looks like he's reading too. Con, stop. Click the button.
Yeah, click on the mic button and you can mute. Yes,
There
yes.
you are.
Okay.
Stop. Don't move. Okay, perfect. Now we can hear you.
Okay, okay.
So you were
Something
practicing. Right?
okay, something you say now that affect you in the future. If plus past simple oblique would plus infinitive, and if I studied I would pass my exam.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you very much. Good. We got to work on that button, but we can get it little by little. So,
Okay.
as I said, this is if you say something now, it affects you in the future. But wait a second, didn't we have that same thing here? Something you say now that affects your future. So now we have
Affect
to
you in
discover
future.
the difference. The difference here is that this is called a hypothetical situation. Okay. Hypothetical. Does anyone know what hypothetical means?
I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. Ken, do you know what it means?
It's a kind of, how can you say it, imaginary or possibly or conditionally. If this condition, you can do this, or you will do that.
Okay, yes. So hypothetical means that it's not necessarily a real situation. Okay, it could happen. There's a possibility, but we're not really sure. Okay. And so now this is, let's see. If plus the past simple, if I studied, okay, so now we're using the past simple here, and that seems to confuse people as well, because it's not just the past simple. We're not using it in a past way. That's the confusing part. In English, actually, let me rephrase this. In Spanish, what we have in the language is something called the subjunctive tense. Now, in English, we don't learn about the subjunctive tense, but what it is a hypothetical situation tense, okay? And so it changes your words. In Spanish, it's quite obvious when you conjugate the verbs. In English, it's not so much because what we're doing is we're using our other verb tenses that we already have, okay? And so if I studied has nothing to do with the past tense. It has something to do with now. And it's in the past tense because it's hypothetical. So if you can understand that crazy triangle of information, so we're okay. Any questions about this part? Okay, we're only looking at if I studied for for right now.
I think would can be interchangeable to can could. I think.
And we're only in the first part, please. No.
Okay.
So nothing, no questions in this first part with the green verb. Okay. So now if we go to I would pass my exam. So what are you saying? If I studied, I would pass. Well, would is the past tense of what other model verb? It's the model verb will. Okay. So, and so in this first conditional, we used will. Okay. And as I said here, we can't use would. Can you see this, the highlighted part of would? I don't know if you can see that far down in the corner. Okay.
I see.
Perfect. Thank you. So you can't use this because it's not a hypothetical situation. The first conditional is really a true situation. Okay? So that's the difference between will and would. Now, more information about the second conditional. So if I studied, I would pass my exam. What am I really saying? If I studied, but I'm not going to. Okay? If I studied, but I'm not going to. That's what you're saying when you say, if I studied. Okay? So this is really the confusing part because I don't know. Anyway, so yes. So if I studied, but I'm not going to, I would pass my exam, but because I'm not going to study, I won't. That's basically what you're saying, okay, in a long sense of this. So, more things to add to the second conditional. In the second conditional, we use would, not will, like I just said, and also could, and we don't use can. Again, will and can are used for more of the present, potential future situations, but not for hypothetical situations. Okay? So after explaining that, now we can go down to this. Of course, with this asterisk after would, we can use other modal verbs, again, except for will and can. So sure, can, you could say, if I studied, I should pass my exam. Okay? I should, but maybe if the exam's very difficult, maybe I won't pass. Okay? So again, it gives that kind of possibility of I should because I'm going to prepare myself very well, but maybe in the end I might not. Okay. We had would. What about could? Oops. Could. I could pass my exam. I'm capable of passing it. But again, if the exam is a lot more difficult than I expect, maybe I won't pass. All right. Could. Can you think of another modal verb that I could use in this case?
Must have. I don't know. It's
You're in the wrong
different
conditional.
No.
I studied. If I studied, I must pass my exam. I don't really like that. See, this is the problem with some of the modal verbs is not all of them really work in this situation. In this case, must is more for the first conditional for me. If I study, I must pass my exam. But must is complete obligation. If I studied, have to is basically the same. Anyway, let's stop with this and we'll put this back with would. All right. So,
And
yes.
so, are there the possibility difference if I use would, could, should?
Of course. Well,
The
if we
same,
think
right?
about it,
Okay.
would represents will.
Okay.
Okay. So you're basically saying 100%. I would pass my exam. I would say this is 100% in
Okay.
the potential, okay, the hypothetical world. Could, then again, instead of can, would be that 50%. And should also would be that's about 75% chance of passing. Okay. Very good question. Anything else before I read the last exception of the second conditional? Anything else? All right. So now I'm going to read this. Can you both see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I see.
Perfect. So this is if I were you, which sounds maybe a bit strange for some people because normally we say I, he, she was to conjugate the verb to be for these subjects in the past. But here, were is more commonly used. Now, don't ask me. Okay, I don't know. This to me is 50-50. There's a 50% chance of one book. I mean, this comes from these textbooks that teach English. Some of them will say was. They will teach you was, and other books will teach you were. Some books, the other book, might teach you was, but say, well, were is more common, so you should probably use that. Honestly, it doesn't matter, okay? Do use whichever one you want. Okay? So if you say, if I was you, I would do this. It's giving advice. It's a suggestion, okay? We're still following this structure of the past simple here, okay? And then, of course, the second part, we don't have any information. If I were you, I would study a lot, okay, for example. So like I said, this doesn't really matter. This is whatever you want, okay? Now, any other final questions about the second conditional?
No.
Okay. Perfect. So now I'm going to move on to the third conditional. Yay. Who doesn't love the third conditional? Okay, whoops. We'll push that down a little bit. And now I need to go up. So Ken, this is the third conditional. Do you want to read this information for us, please?
Okay. Yes. Third, something you did in the past and talk about it in the future. You cannot change the outcome situation. If plus past perfect slash would plus have plus past participle. If I had studied, I would have passed my exam.
All right. So now the third conditional is completely different. Okay. So that we had the zero conditional as a true fact, a true information. This first and second were then about situations that can happen now or you talk about now that affect your future, but the difference is a real and unreal or hypothetical situation. And now we have the third. The third is about something that happened in the past. I don't care when, it doesn't matter when it happened, but it just has to be something that happened. It could have been yesterday or 10 years ago. Okay. And actually, I don't think future is correct in this spot. Something you did in the past and talk about it in the present, I think would be a better word for this. Just because you're talking about it now in the moment. Okay? So I think that is kind of a good change. So you cannot change the outcome or actually what happened. Okay? So if we go back again to the example of the exam, if I had studied, okay, now we're using a past tense because the action happened. You took the exam maybe a week ago, okay? If I had studied, but I didn't is what it's actually saying, okay? So if I had studied, but I didn't, that's literally what you're saying right here with these words. I would have passed my exam, okay? But you didn't. So now what we're doing, and if you don't understand this grammar, that's complicated because the past perfect is used for past events, for duration, okay? So I can't really draw here, but if I say, I started studying, actually, let's do this. So I studied for a long time, okay? That's my duration. So maybe this is like for 2 weeks. Let's say the word study represents 2 weeks of really studying hard, okay? And then you did the test. So all of that time together is a duration of time. It didn't happen in one moment or in one day, but it took weeks, okay? So that's why we're using the past perfect here, because it's a duration of time that started in the past and also ended in the past, okay? Because now we're over here. This is today. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
I know it's kind of difficult to understand my way of thinking because I'm a little abstract sometimes. But anyway, the idea is that there's a gap or some time in between where when you took your exam and today. Maybe it was yesterday, that's fine. But the most important thing is that there's duration. So you studied and did the exam, that took a couple weeks, and today's different. Okay? So this would again represents will. Okay, so you were sure you were going to pass. I would have passed. Now what happens is I don't exactly have a reason for the structure of this sentence. Test time, Ken. What verb tense is would have passed?
Would have passed think present perfect plus would.
So this is your present perfect, right?
Yes.
I'm going to say no with that one but we're talking about the past tense. I mean, this is all in the past. So what happens is because we have a modal verb would,
Okay.
what happens after a modal verb? I
Okay.
will go. What?
Past perfect, you mean?
Well, no. I mean, this is in the past perfect. This is have. We have to use the verb have because have comes directly after a modal verb. After a modal verb, we always have to use the verb in the infinitive form without to. So, for example, when I say I will go, just the normal present, normal future simple sentence. I will go. Go is in the infinitive form. Will is a modal verb. For example, I can sing. Sing is not conjugated. It's in the infinitive form because it's directly after a modal verb. Okay, this is only the structure of the sentence. So even though we see a verb, quote unquote, have in the present, it's really not in the present. This structure is called a modal perfect. Model perfect.
Model has perfect tense. Okay.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Let me write that in this model perfect
Okay.
tense. Okay. So this is what's happening. Okay. Also, we have a perfect tense here, so why not use a perfect tense over here too? Okay. So again, we have the have and the past participle. So this is very intricate. This is very detailed as far as the grammar structures today. Again, as I said at the beginning of class, it can be very difficult if you don't know all of the verb tenses. Okay. So, questions. There's no questions. Okay, everyone's quiet. Fantastic. So, now what I want to do is go down because we still have another one. Okay. Is both used? Why is this incorrect? No. Both. Ignore. Okay, so now, Con, would you like to read all of this that you see on the screen, please?
Yes, okay. A past action that affect you now normally makes the second and third condition is both used in past tense. If I had eaten, I wouldn't be hungry now. Had eaten equal to third means past perfect. Would not be is equal to second would past in infinitive.
Perfect. So exactly. So this is the last kind of conditional that we have, okay? The mixed. The mixed is because we're mixing two different conditionals, okay? Like I said, it normally mixes the second and third conditionals because they both use a past tense. Yes and no, okay? As we know, there are more exceptions in English than there are actual rules. So this is just an example that I had. So if I had eaten, but I didn't, I wouldn't be hungry now. So you're hungry now because you didn't eat, okay? You can say this in many different ways. So this one I really wouldn't worry about in general. I think I would focus on the other ones because as I said, I didn't eat, I'm hungry. Now, okay? You can directly say this sentence very simply, and we don't need to use a mixed conditional. Now, it depends on your level, okay?
Okay.
Questions?
So if
Mm,
sorry, if I say if I had eaten, I wouldn't have been hungry now. What is the difference between these two sentences?
I wouldn't have been hungry. Let
Yes,
me just write that so everyone can see. If I had eaten, I wouldn't have been hungry now.
maybe you can erase now because it's the kind of present perfect kind of now, right?
Not present perfect, it's a model perfect.
yeah, this is
Learn.
Perfect.
not a present perfect.
It's okay.
So
I love model perfects, but they're really difficult.
perfect tense cannot be followed by now, right?
What?
I heard perfect tenses cannot be followed by now, like a specific time.
Right, like it actually doesn't even sound that good. Okay. Um Basically this has I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Been hungry. I'm having lunch right after class today. So this hungry is a bit it works for me at the moment. So it's deduction. It's telling us something that we understand. I don't know how to explain deduction. Deduction, what's deduction?
Redaction, you said.
No, deduction with a D.
Deduction. Deduction.
Hold on, let me. Deduction. It's kind of like when you discover something. Okay, or
Mm-hmm.
you figure something out.
Mm-hmm. Ah, yeah, that's right.
The conclusion, okay. So the conclusion in this case is, well, I didn't eat, so I am hungry now. Didn't eat before, it affects, I wouldn't have been hungry. Ugh, it doesn't sound good, Ken. Okay, that
Really? Why?
if we do actually, okay, in this case, you can't change the outcome. Do you know what? If you're hungry, it's because it's now, which means that it's not a true, complete third conditional. Because in the third conditional, you can't change it. So it's a past more in the past. It's a past or past. I know that doesn't make sense, but it's something that's more in the past because if it affects you now, it has to be
Mm-hmm.
the first. It affectable in the future. You can say it now affects in the future. The future could be in 2 seconds as well. Same thing here. It's a second,
Mm-hmm.
to me, this is a hypothetical situation. I wouldn't be. Because you're using a past. So normally we keep the past tenses together or the present tenses together. Not always.
Mm-hmm.
If I ate, I wouldn't be hungry. See, I was just trying to give you an example of a mixed tense. Okay, what is this? If I ate earlier, I wouldn't be hungry now, for example. This is a true, complete second conditional, okay? That's important. But I had all morning to eat. This is duration. I had all morning and I didn't eat. Okay, so that's it. That's all. So this one I don't like.
Really?
Thanks.
Grammatically makes sense, but it doesn't. Okay.
Well, it's because, like I said, in the third conditional, the outcome is the outcome. The situation of, for example, you didn't pass your test. You can't change that anymore. It passed. It's done. See ya. Finished.
Okay.
Sayonara. And in this case, we can change it. If I'm hungry, I can go eat something.
I see. Yeah, I got it. I got the sense.
All right. Whew. Oh, you make
Yeah.
my life so difficult. No, I'm just kidding. Like I said, people think, these conditionals are complicated. As you can see, sure, they can be. And this is just the base of all of these. There's more information. Okay.
Right.
As far as I know, yes. And so, oh, yes. Okay. No, that's a little different. Okay. Any other questions with this? Any other questions? This is something I normally wouldn't teach a person at a B1 level. This one I would just ignore for a while because you're not always able to use this. And I think you should probably use these other conditionals in their true structure for an exam or something like that. Because if you start trying to use a mixed conditional, the person who's examining you or doing the examination might think that you're confusing the tenses. So it really depends. I mean, if you're using this in a real life situation, sure, go ahead, try it. But it might not always work, right, Ken?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the only thing else that I want to mention is in any conditional sentence, you can change the sentence around by changing its meaning. Not changing its meaning. 1 second. You can change the sentence around. Without changing its meaning. Yes, that's correct. So, for example, the first conditional, I'll pass my exam if I study. The only difference is that we're removing or taking out the comma. Right? We don't have a comma here anymore. Before we had, if I study, actually, if I study, I'll pass my exam. Okay. So we have our comma here. And as I said before, I'm contracting the will because it's more natural for native speakers. Okay. Same thing here. I would pass my exam if I studied. Before we saw if I studied, I would pass my exam. Okay. With a comma in there. And then I would have passed my exam if I had studied. Okay. So it depends how you want to tell your parents if you passed or failed your exam. Well, I would have passed my exam if I studied. Then you would say if I had studied lower so they don't hear you very much. Okay. So, all right. I need to drink water after that. Perfect. Questions? Anything about these conditionals that we've seen today?
Teacher, the first condition talk about the simple future, and the second condition talk about the past, and the third condition talk about the present perfect, I think.
Well, it depends. I mean, I don't know if you were here for this, but this first conditional is for a true situation, something that really will happen. Okay.
Okay.
In the second conditional, the grammar is the past. But actually what
Okay.
we're doing is this is a hypothetical situation. So this doesn't have, this is not the past, it's the past tense, but it doesn't
Yes.
talk about the past. It still affects you in the future, okay? And
Okay.
then yes, here in the third, we're using the past perfect and then the model perfect over here, okay? A model perfect, which then represents a situation that happened in the past, and now you talk about it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. So yes, things are confused. And mixed, don't even worry about mixed for now, okay? And actually, in just a couple minutes after this class is finished, you can watch it. So let me stop screen sharing because we're basically finished for today too. So, yeah, like I said, in probably 5 minutes, this will be uploaded onto the website, and so you can watch it like 10,000 times if you want. That's not a problem.
Okay. 10,000
That's
times.
kind of a lot, yeah. And then you'd be teaching
it,
this class.
ma'am, it's very easy job to watch 10,000 times this video.
It's a little bit too many, right? No, but if you watch it once, or at least you can stop, you can maybe look and research on a different website, because maybe it's the way I'm explaining it. If you don't understand, maybe if it's a different words or a different way, then it's easier to understand. So, at least you have the resource of today's class, you have the worksheet, well, the document, and that way you're able to see kind of step by step the differences. So, a different day we'll do the advanced ones, which I'm a little excited and nervous about. Like I said, I've never taught them before. So, and actually for today, that is it. So let me just check for next class what we're going to be doing. Next class is on Monday. I can't believe it's Wednesday and it's sunny now. It was cloudy before. Okay,
Nice.
so yeah, I know. I don't know. The days have been like this: cloudy, sunny, cloudy, sunny. We'll see what happens. Um, the next class is about job shadowing, and this is a business class, obviously. So, job shadowing is when you kind of go to a business and look at what they do, kind of things like that. I don't want to give away too much information, but that will be on Monday at 1 o'clock, Spain time, or 1 o'clock, whatever. So, perfect. Any questions before we finish?
Ah, I got it now. Yeah, job shadowing. I was talking about job shadowing class at the beginning.
Well, then that 100 hours might make sense. That's okay. Perfect. Well, I'm glad that that's all right. That's set because that means Thomas didn't make a mistake. So, anyway, so then we're finished. Have a great day, and hopefully, we'll see you on Monday. Okay.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
very
Thank
much.
you,
All right.
ma'am.
You're welcome. Bye.
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 Bye.